Hi, I'm Duncan Moss, and I'd like to welcome you to my latest YouTube channel feature. Today, I'll be talking about a Universal horror movie made in 1944 called The House of Frankenstein. I wrote an article several years ago, which I think a website might have put it on there. I couldn't have it published in a magazine because professionally because it wasn't represented by an agent. I've been trying for years to find an agent to represent my work, but it seems a lot easier said than done. So if anybody's got any tips, I would love to hear from you. This article that I wrote is called House of Frankenstein, a classic opportunity missed. Um, when House of Frankenstein went into production in spring 1944, it was the sixth feature in an immensely successful movie franchise which had been running since late 1931 when Frankenstein launched Boris Karloff to stardom as the Frankenstein creature, or monster as the character is better known. Karloff had little input into the character's appearance, but his incredibly powerful performance as the monster in the first three films, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and Son of Frankenstein, which spanned the 1930s and Universal's classic horror period, made a firm foundation on which the series could continue. So much has been written about these films and some of the successors, but I find that House of Frankenstein has been very much overlooked, and I'm attempting to give the movie the praise I think it deserves, while not afraid of examining the picture's faults. Karloff had been away from the cinema for most of a 3 year period in the massively successful comedy stage thriller Arsenic and Old Lace. And House of Frankenstein must have surprised his legion of fans, many probably thinking he was going to return as the Frankenstein monster. Boris would never go back on his promise not to play the monster again, but the Frankenstein ethos would be with Karloff for all his career as a star, and he publicly stated that he felt it would be a mistake to turn his back on what had made him a success in the first place. His character, Dr. Gustav Niemann, was written by script writer Kurt Siedmack with great care, as is the character of his hunchback companion Daniel, played by the fabulously versatile and greatly underrated J. Carrol Naish. The two actors work well together, and much of the film is hinged on their relationship. Naish's character, although evil, is full of pathos and evokes audience sympathy from the start. George Zucco's small but memorable role as Professor Bruno Lampini is a gem worthy of much more screen time. The film's posters boasted of having Titans of Terror, the Wolfman, Dracula, and Frankenstein's monster, along with a mad scientist and a hunchback. The film's running time is only 70 minutes, and sadly, it is this short length that the film's faults are centered around. John Carradine replaces Bela Lugosi as Count Dracula, which must have greatly disappointed Lugosi's fans, who felt he was still the definitive Dracula. Bela's recent performance as the Frankenstein monster was suitably evil, but also uneven thanks to studio indecision as to how the characters should be presented. Much criticism had been thrown at Bela's portrayal, and you wonder if his replacement was some kind of punishment. Universal executives may have just thought him too old, but in this But if this is the case, then Bella proved them wrong when he played the role 4 years later in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and pretty much stole the film. John Carradine was fine and offbeat. Oh, sorry, John Carradine was a fine and offbeat character actor, and his portrayal of the undead Count is loaded with so much charm that until we experience his powerful glare, you have to remind yourself that he's evil. The Dracula episode in the film is flawless and shows what a terrific director Earl C. Kenton was. A dependable performance by Lionel Atwill as Inspector Arntz is complemented by Sig Ruman as Husman, the burgomaster, with an unhelpfully poor memory. Peter Coe and Anne Gwynn are competent as Carl and Rita Husman, and the film's fine special effects, which are evident throughout the film, make the Dracula episode very enjoyable, and it is a shame that the same amount of care could not have taken place with the rest of the production. A very welcome addition to the cast is the young actress Ellen Verdugo as the gypsy girl Ilonka. Eleanor had been in a few films and was still in her late teens. She plays her role with great confidence and interacts well with the characters of Daniel and Lawrence Talbot to give the later sections of the movie a continued quality, which the reducing running time of the plot urgently require. The ruins of the castle and the interior glacial ice tavern are finely constructed, and the introduction of Lawrence Talbot, the Wolfman, reprised by Lon Chaney Jr., and the monster are brilliantly executed, and is one of the film's highlights. The relationship and love interest between Lawrence and Ilonka is very moving, and apart from Karloff's work as the monster, there's never been such pathos in the franchise. I remember watching the film for the first time in 1977 as a troubled teenager and being very moved by their performance. Daniel's troubled character and Neiman's callous treatment of his loyal companion are the icing on the cake. House of Frankenstein is clearly the most downbeat of the series, but this is not a fault but a strength in a franchise which many critics and fans must have felt was well past its sell-by date. I'm at pains to reveal as little of the plot as possible, hoping that there will be young new fans as well as older ones who have not yet seen the film. I grew up with the book A Pictorial History of Horror by Dennis Gifford, one of the finest horror books ever written. Dennis must be the only writer on the planet who could reveal the plot, which he did with dependable regularity, and make you gasp with enthusiasm to see the film he is describing. This writer, meaning me, has no such talent. Glenn Strange has the almost thankless task of portraying the monster. His screen time is ridiculously small, although his performance is perfectly competent, and he deserves to be higher up the end credits, where he's situated at the bottom. Strange was full of praise for Boris Karloff, who gave him some coaching as to how to perform the monster's walk and body language. The Universal Publicity Department took full advantage of exploiting Boris coming face to face with his famous character with a fabulous still of the two actors just after the monster has been revived. What we see on screen is perfectly well done. The sadness is that we do not see enough of it. I get the impression that Kurt Sidemark, who is a very fine screenwriter, was not especially enthusiastic about his assignment and wanted it to finished as soon as possible. The film does not outstay its welcome, and another 20 minutes would have helped the second half of the picture greatly and pleased the fans. One only wonders if Karloff spoke to any of the Universal executives about the use of the monster's character, or Cheney about his baby. Um, Fans of the Monster and the Wolfman must have felt very short-changed. Film buffs need to watch out for Frank Reacher, who played Captain Engelhorn, sorry, in the original King Kong as Ullman, Dr. Neiman's original assistant. Should have gone to Specsavers. Hans J. Salter's music is terrific, as it is in the previous Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and the laboratory sequences that make up a large part of John P. Fulton's visual effects are also as also, well, I don't know. Sorry, Connie. I'll start again. Hans J. Salter's music is terrific, as it is in the previous Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and the laboratory sequences that make up a large part of John P. Fulton's visual effects are as always breathtaking. Jack Pierce's makeup is up to its usual impeccable standard. By now, the Frankenstein franchise was coming to an end. There were only going to be one more in the series, House of Dracula, 1945, which, as with House of Frankenstein, is a short but competent affair. Fans still enjoy House of Frankenstein, which was eventually released in December 1944, some 6 months after completion, and new fans will enjoy it. However, it is a shame that the great talents of Universal's fine production team and actors were not stretched further. One of the movie taglines was "Bang goes the neighborhood." It deserved a bigger bang. Well, apart from a few hiccups, I hope that you enjoyed my review. I have here the Universal Frankenstein uh, Monster Aurora kit, which was when it came out, they used Glenn Strange's face to do the head for the kit because it was a little easier to do than Karloff's. Um, but I don't think they either of them got any royalties for the. And I don't think Jack Pierce did either. That's showbiz. But I hope you enjoyed my review. If you'd like to click the like button, and it'd be lovely if you would like to subscribe. I do varied features on various things, and send it to a friend. That would be lovely. But more than anything, you can get the Universal horror films in various sets, and they're not that expensive. So if you haven't had a chance to see any of them, treat yourself. Okay, you take care, everybody. God bless.